Hi, this is George Anton here, and I want you to think about this quote from Albert Einstein. If I had an hour to solve a problem, I'd spend 55 minutes thinking about the problem and 5 minutes thinking about solutions. Because the more you understand the problem, the more you're going to start seeing that most investors out there are doing things that actually hurt them financially. They think they're moving forward, but they're only going to find out many, many years later that they're actually moving backwards. Understand this problem because it can make all the difference in your life. With that, buckle up and let's dive in.
Okay, so let's look at why would Albert Einstein say that if he had 1 hour to solve a problem, he would spend 55 minutes on the problem, focusing on the problem, understanding the problem in more detail, and 5 minutes on the solution. And so if you think about it, this is over 90% of the time on the problem and less than 10% on the solution. Think about that for a second. People forget what the problem is about. There's many things out there that people need to be aware of, but this is sort of the big picture. So I want you to think about this being your timeline, okay? This is your timeline, and let's just say today you're here. And your goal is to get to some goal, whatever that goal is, okay? So let's just say for a second that your goal is to generate X dollars a month in passive income, okay? And we'll spend some more time on this in the future, but this is, again, I'm looking at the big picture here. And let's just say that this translates to having 2.5 million. Don't ask me where I got that from. I just made it up. 2.5 million in net worth that translates to this passive income goal, okay? And let's just say today you have, for example, $50,000. It doesn't matter what the number is. Again, the whole point is to sort of show you the big picture here. And so your goal is to go from here to here in the shortest time possible. So let's just pick a number. Again, just for illustration purposes, let's say your goal is to get there in 10 years. So you're here today, you have $50,000. You can invest. This is for investing. And you have your goal is to get here in 10 years and have a net worth of 2.5 million because you want to ultimately generate enough passive income to live off and retire. So what are your options? Let's start with the gap. Do you see the gap? So you have a gap between here and here. This is called your gap. So the first question is, what are you going to do to cover this gap? This is a very real problem, and this is your problem right now as you're listening to this video and this training. This is your gap. Whatever your number is, whatever your numbers are, there's a gap, okay? And this is a real problem. The question is, what is your plan? Do you even have a plan to go from here to here? How are you going to get there? How are you going to get from here to here? Okay, and you have 10 years. The second question you have to ask yourself is, what's your runway? Is it 10 years? Is it 5 years? Is it 15 years? What is that? And so now that you understand this, the next thing is, can you afford to make wrong decisions that will literally waste years of your life? Because many decisions, as you learn from this channel, will literally take you years to discover that you were wrong. So how can you make the best decisions knowing what you know right now? Okay, so let's think about this for a second. Let's just say you take $50,000 and you buy a stock, whatever the stock is. And let's just say that the stock is going to generate 10% per year. So now you have $50,000 worth of this stock, and it's generating, let's say, $5,000 per year in growth or dividends or whatever, it doesn't matter, okay? The point is, you have to grow this thing literally 6 figures every year to get to your 2.5 million. And you have 10 years in this, your runway is 10 years. Is this realistic? Answer is no. What if you buy real estate? Let's just say you take this 50,000 and you buy real estate, use this as a down payment, and you buy a $250,000 property and you start collecting rent. Now your money, your 50,000 is dead for at least 5 years before you can tap into it. Now you're generating rent, that's great, but can you honestly believe that you're going to be able to get to your 2.5 million by just buying this one property here? The answer is no. What if you invest into a mutual fund or a syndication or whatever it is you invest in? Okay, now there are 2 rules here. The first rule is you cannot raise private money. Why? Because most people are not ready to raise private money. This takes years to really master because you cannot go out and raise private money on something that you haven't really mastered. So first rule is you cannot raise private money. Second rule is an asset that you can share with your loved ones. So whatever you invest in has to be something that you can teach your loved ones. Okay? So here are your 2 rules. What are you going to invest in? You're going to find out this is very difficult. Okay? Very difficult. But this is the problem right now, folks. Your goal is to get to some point in life where you never have to work again. And this is the journey that every investor is on. And most investors are investing in things that actually don't help them. But let's take it a step further. What if I told you that most people are investing in assets, but here's what happens. Let's look at decisions here. Let's go back to the word decisions. Every decision either moves you towards your goal or away from your goal. Okay? Remember this. Every decision moves you towards your goals or away from your goals in a compounding manner. Because you only find out years later it's one or the other, right? And it turns out many investors are choosing this. Even though they're buying stuff, this can be proved mathematically, by the way. But most investors are making decisions that move them backwards. And again, I'm going to show you mathematically, but let's go back to the problem. Here's the big problem. And this is your problem today, folks. You're here. You want to get here. You have a gap. What's your plan? Number 1. And recognize that most investments you make will not move you fast enough to this goal because there's something you're missing. This is what happened when I started studying what Albert Einstein was saying. Now, over here, I'm going to add to this $1, and I'm going to add a clock, time. Okay, let me explain what this is. So here you have money, here you have time. If you are extremely efficient and you're making money work for you, money generating money, that's what this half circle is, you can get to this goal much faster. But it turns out by making the wrong decisions, you now need to work, meaning invest time, to generate money to invest. And what that does is it pushes your goal out. So now your goal is being pushed out. So what used to be 2.5 million, now because of inflation, might be 2.8 million and keeps going up. So this keeps going up. By making your money work efficiently and making the right decisions, you might be able to get to this goal much, much faster. But by making the wrong decisions, what seems to be the right decisions, but they're actually not, you have to spend more time or invest more time working to generate more money to invest into here to try to get you to your goal. But working slows you down and therefore pushes the goal out. And that's why most investors or most people have to work for 30, 40 years of their lives and have very little to show for it because they're not using this correctly. They're not using their money efficiently and they're not making the right decisions. This is the problem, folks. I would highly recommend you write down what's your starting point here today, your net worth and how much money you have to invest, what's your goal, and we'll expand on this in the future. And ask yourself, am I moving towards my goal or am I moving away from that? But I want you to understand the big problem. And here are your two rules. You cannot raise private money, and you want to make sure you have two ways of generating money: by working for it and investing it in here, or by making the money work more efficiently for you. Because if you don't do this efficiently, you will end up doing this, which ends up pushing your goal out. That's what's happening, folks. Hopefully this opens your eyes, and the question now you have to be asking yourself is, how can I make this more efficient? Keep watching this channel because we're going to give you the answers, okay? And you're going to find out this is the slow way. And let me just give you a hint. There are two ways of thinking about the problem. There's the asset first approach and the finance first approach. This is when you, as an investor, start thinking, what asset should I invest in? Stocks, real estate, whatever. You're thinking the asset is what's going to save you. It's not. Finance first approach, the way bankers think, is what finance do I need? What structure do I need in conjunction with the right asset? You start with the finance first, and then you add the asset second. This is what we do with all our members. We help them start here, then here, and then once they get that, it's a big shift. So it turns out to solve this problem, this is very difficult to solve, and we're going to give you the math behind it at some point. And what you have to do instead is approach things very differently.
So hopefully you enjoy that content. If you want more of that, go ahead and like and subscribe to our channel. We are big believers in sharing content and training that can change your life. Also, for anyone wanting a copy of the drawing I just did, download the PDF of that right below this video. You'll see a link in the description. Go ahead and download that. In fact, I would highly recommend you read some of the description we have because we always have links to videos in there that might be very appropriate or correspond to the one you just watched. Now, as a company, all we do day in and day out is we help people like you start seeing a transformation in their life. We focus on implementation. So anytime you're ready, we're here for you. Go ahead and click on the link below and let us know when you're ready and we'll get you going, okay? So with that, I'll see you in the next video.